Alright, hi, and today's topic is properties of rational numbers. So our goal for today is we're going to identify the properties of rational numbers. Now this is part 2 of the commutative and associative property one that we've had before. So again, just to let you know that yeah, you are doing this the same title, but you're doing more. So here, our California standard that we're going to cover today is Algebra and Functions 1.5. And this is very, very vocabulary heavy. So please stop at any time. Okay? So here, our vocabulary. Our first one is identity property. And we have two properties here. We have the identity property of addition. And the identity property of addition states that the sum, and don't forget, sum means plus, of any number and 0 is that number. So think about like 5 plus 0 is equal to 5. Makes common sense, right? So a lot of this stuff is very common sense type of properties. The second one, identity property of multiplication, states that the product, and product means to multiply, the product of any number and 1 is that number. And again, common sense again. You take the number like negative 20 and you multiply that by 1, you'll still get negative 20. So any number that is added to it to 0 will always get the same number, and any number that is multiplied by 1 will also be the same number as well. And that's just the identity property. Alright, now we got the inverse property, and again it also goes with multiplication and addition. You're going to notice that a lot of things deal with multiplication and addition. So here, the multiplication inverse property states that the product, and again, product means multiply, of any number and its inverse is 1. So let me give you an idea. So let's go with the product of, let's do 2. Now the inverse of 2, or the reciprocal of 2, is 1/2. So if I take 2 times 1/2, well, we need to change that to a fraction. That's equal to 2 over 2, which is equal to 1. Okay? Now, in addition, there is also the inverse property as well. The inverse property of addition states that the sum, and again, sum means add, of any number and its opposite integer is 0. So let's test that out. So let's go with, let's use 2 again. If I take 2 plus negative 2, that should get me back to 0. And let's try that. You can use football or you can use money. Let's use football. You gained 2 and you lost 2, so you really didn't gain anything at all or lose anything at all. You're back to pretty much ground zero. Or if you had $2 and you owed your friend $2, once the money gets exchanged, well, you're back to 0. Okay, but no one owes anything and no one has anything. Alright, finally, our last property that we're going to talk about is the 0 property. And this goes a little bit along with the other, the identity property. But what this basically means is the product, and again, product is multiply, of any number and 0 is 0. So no matter what you take, you can take a fraction, you can take any other numbers, you can even take letters. Let's just go with the letter A. A times 0, no matter what A could be, and A could be 1,000,000 or 1 or -3 or -5.5, when you multiply it by 0, you're always going to get 0. Alright, so let's go and try out a couple of problems. Alright, so I want you to identify the property. So here we have 4 plus 0 is equal to 4. So if you notice, the number, when you add to it, it stays the same. So this is your identity property. So this would be called identity. And of course, this would be identity of addition. Okay? The next one, here I have -7 times 1 is equal to -7. Identity again. of multiplication. And yes, your main goal for this one is to basically just figure out what property they are. Alright, here I have 2 times 1/2 is equal to 1. So this is your inverse property. So this is your inverse property. Of multiplication. Okay? And again, really, you're just identifying your properties. Alright. You may record at any time, or stop the recording at any time. Okay, here we have, again, your inverse property again. You have -10 plus 10 is equal to 0. So if you add the number and its opposite, and it doesn't matter if you start off with a negative or a positive, if you just add its opposite, you're going to go ahead and get its inverse property. So -10 times -10 plus positive 10 is going to give us your 0 inverse property of addition. Okay, and then finally we have -5 times 0 is equal to 0. And this is your easiest one because it's, again, very common sense. Anything times 0 is going to give a 0, no matter what that is. So this is, again, your 0 property. And you can go 0 property of multiplication. There is a 0 property of addition, but if you notice, the 0 property of addition is similar to the identity property, where no matter what you add, you're still going to get that same number. So in this one, 0 property of multiplication just basically means anything that you multiply to 0 is going to get you 0. Alright.